Alright, so I'm going to be talking about the GCIL program today from the perspective of a student who went on the program in this last year, 2019, for the winter quarter, for the hopes that prospective students in the future will get some further information from someone who's actually been a student on the program. Starting out with this first picture, this is the group that went on GCIL 2019's program. I'm somewhere in the picture, but I will let you guess where I am. Moving on. Just as kind of like an overview for GCIL, the basic hope is that you are learning a design thinking sort of approach, which is a different sort of learning approach than might be applied in a traditional classroom, and it's really thinking about creation in a different way that emphasizes empathy. And obviously by taking the course you'll learn a lot more than I can tell you right now, but using that and identifying a huge challenge facing the city of Bangalore, you're supposed to design a real social venture solution. Now, this solution can be as real as you want it to be, but for the purposes of the program, the goal is to create something that could be implemented in the future. You're collaborating and you're learning how to work as a team with people that while you have to learn to work as a team in a normal class, you're living with these people, so it puts a whole new aspect of the relationship to it. And then additionally, you can pitch your venture, your final product for funding, which is the stage that some of us now have found ourselves in coming back. But in terms of the program, the cost is about $7,400, and it's 15 credits total, and depending on your major, that breaks up differently. But this would be a video from one of the groups, one of their ventures that they created. It was the Mobile Learning Center. I'm not going to play it for you right now. I can just give you a quick description where this group worked with an NGO that helped a girls' school, like troubled youth who had different backgrounds. Usually, it could range from like a history of abuse to just a troubled family, but in any case, this school took these girls in, and the students working for this program volunteered their time, and based on what they learned volunteering and also in the GCIL class, they created this idea for a mobile learning center with the goal to fill in gaps from just more rote learning. And this mobile learning center would bring in a professional who would provide an interactive activity for the class and hopefully engage the students in a more productive way. You can check out the videos on the website, the GCIL website, which I'll link to later. So what you're really supposed to do in this program is you come to Bangalore, a city across the world from Seattle, and you're identifying a huge problem. Pictured here in this waste collection facility, there's a lot of waste, a lot of garbage. This is actually a facility that's meant to be recycled materials. It's not just a landfill. So all these piles get sorted and recycled materials get sold by these specific vendors. So there's a few problems you could identify there. There are problems across the city in Bangalore, from slums to water shortages to raw sewage. There are so many, and this isn't necessarily unique to Bangalore, but kind of I think the purpose of the program is by stepping out of your comfort zone. That is for most of you, I assume, American students, but even not, stepping out of where you're taking your classes every day and applying that to a new country where you're not taking a typical class structure. You'll see maybe a larger array, and you'll just see things in a different way than you do here with it kind of without that innate bias of knowing where you are, and that will hopefully lead to some interesting ideas. So, you're designing a social venture, and pictured here are two of the social ventures. One, the Mobile Learning Center, which I already discussed, and the second one is Well Connected, which is a website designed by a group that worked with rainwater harvesting And the goal of the website is to connect traditional well diggers to a customer base in Bangalore. It works kind of like an Airbnb sort of thing where a customer comes on, they choose a job that they want, and it connects them to a specific professional who can complete that job. Those are the kinds of things that we created, but you'll create something completely different. And by the end of the program, the hope is that you have the tools that you feel like you can look at problems in India, whether you want to continue working there, or like problems in the US or in Seattle, like issues that you have gone to and you think are just like too huge for an individual to tackle. The goal of this class is to give you some tools to begin to look at these large-scale issues and actually provide something useful and beneficial to them. So yeah, the class is broken up into a kind of a two-part, but also a three-part system. So weeks 1 to 3 are meant for like a more traditional class structure where you usually have lectures and regular field trips. You're learning about different NGOs in the area and the solutions they've come up with to certain challenges. You're also learning about the vast challenges that are facing Bangalore. This picture actually in the background is from the rooftop of a yoga studio that we went to early on in the program in this I think it was the first week, and it was actually a break day, but it was part of our field trip and exploration of the city sort of day. The next section is where you go off to your organization. So GCIL is a two-part thing. One is the class work, which you do, which is coming up with your social venture, and the other half is related to the organization, and you do work for that organization. Whatever deliverables they want is what you provide. And so this is where the work with the organization starts in about week 4, and then you're also beginning to come up with you're identifying a problem and beginning to develop an entrepreneurial solution starting in week 4, after you have the first 3 weeks to adjust and begin and learn some backgrounds. So there's another break, which isn't exactly mentioned here, but from weeks 4 to 6, at the end of week 6, maybe the start of week 7, your first report is due, and you have a time where you can switch. So the idea is you've learned all this design thinking and you practice it, and you can either continue with your initial social venture that you've designed, or you can start a new one, which some groups did in our program. My group in particular, the Well-Connected group, switched halfway through, and we were still able to complete it, but it is a challenge. So the goal of this program is to identify a problem that you care about and something that people care about in a way that like you're not, in a way that is balanced, right? So you have to have something that you care about, otherwise you won't have the energy to create it or sell it. But then to sell it, you need it to be something people care about. For it to be sustainable, I think that there are of course stories where people get taken advantage of, and obviously in designing a social venture, the goal is to not take advantage of anyone. And so this class is kind of teaching you how to be in that intersection of what you care about and what customers care about. And this is a process that you'll go through. This economic value proposition is a process that you'll go through a million times, where you just you're trying to start with what's the problem. So going to India, you start with like what's going on, what is our specific problem that we're facing that we want to address with our social venture. Then you develop who's your customer, what is your solution, why will people buy it, how does it make money, and you go through this circle millions of times. You'll get better answers, worse answers, but hopefully by the end you'll identify something that you feel really proud about and something that you feel like could actually be a plausible solution to something facing Bangalore or other places in the world. So Belander Lake is maybe a famous lake. Some of you might be familiar with it, others not at all, but it's a heavily polluted lake in Bangalore. And just looking at this picture, this presentation is meant to kind of ask the audience what they see in looking at this picture. And there are obvious things, like there's the foam, there are the pigs eating the trash, there's the garbage. And what that kind of is pointing out is that, like, just looking at this picture, you can already see, like, so many issues that could be addressed, maybe with a social venture, maybe not. But this is kind of something that Julian and the rest of the GCIL faculty had us do throughout the program, which is just, like, think and ideate as much as you can, because even in the small things, there are details that become important later. And Belander Lake is something unique to Bangalore. You don't see very many foaming lakes in the U.S. for sure, but that's not saying that the U.S. doesn't have its own water quality issues that maybe if you could figure something out in Bangalore, it could be applied here, or not. Maybe you just spend your time try to fix something in Bangalore. But you can see there's a picture of people playing with the foam, which makes it seem maybe more fun. Less of an issue, but that's before it catches on fire. And one thing I'd like to note is that Bangalore is also a great place because these environmental problems are like causing life and death scenarios with people. Rainwater harvesting is something that's being implemented heavily there because they can't get water without rainwater harvesting. So it's interesting to be here where like environmentally sustainable solutions are a necessity, so people are implementing them, versus the U.S. where it's just talked about. And I think of that now because of this, seeing this picture of this lake catch on fire, and having citizens now start to take action on this lake reminds me of in the U.S. in the 60s, there were rivers catching on fire, and that's when heavy legislation started to take place. So you're going to India in a moment that in Bangalore specifically, in a moment that there's a lot of environmental solutions being developed because it's such a necessity to them there. These are drinking water tankers, picture drinking water tankers in Bangalore. You see them like every day. You just don't realize what they are until you finally like start learning about them. You just kind of see like, oh, what's that truck doing? And the way the water's set up in Bangalore, in the cities in the middle where the rich people are generally, their water is just pumped by a tap like it is here. But then on the outskirts where the poorer people live, of course I'm generalizing here, this isn't always true, but a lot of it is provided by tanker water. Or if you're a rich person and you're living on the outskirts, the tankers are paid for by basically the people who run the gated community, and you never see the tankers. Your water's still pumped by just in the tap. But the poor people are the ones who have to like drag the water around and who actually interact with this. And the water, ironically, is not subsidized when it comes from the tankers, so the poorer people are spending way more money on water than richer people. Another huge problem facing Bangalore. So just like talking about our program more, these are some pictures of the weeks 1 through 3. A field trip in the top left is a field trip to Akshapatra, which is an organization that provides food for schools. They're an NGO. It's like, I think it provides one lunch a day to a bunch of public school or government schools across Bangalore. We were there at like 5 a.m. It was ridiculously early. We're all trying to stay awake while Julian's explaining something in that picture. The one to the right of that is a composting facility in Bangalore. It serves as an education point for how people can use compost in their daily lives, what can be composted, what can be grown. A really cool thing that you would think would be somewhere in Seattle, but it's here in the middle of Bangalore. Really awesome. The one directly below that is from a farm that basically took some raw sugarcane and processed it into a mixture, which I can't remember the name for right now, but is used often as it's basically a sugar. But we got to eat raw sugarcane, which is great. And then the last picture on the bottom left, there's a sleeping dog, which we befriended in a rural site in Bangalore. Not in Bangalore, just outside of Bangalore. That was a great experience for us to see a different side. So you don't just see the city, you also see the more rural context and the different problems that exist in that. The next weeks are us ideating. There's in the bottom left, that's a cafe that a lot of people would go to, especially towards the end, to try to finish up the presentation. And that's a few people from the program going crazy over some computers. But yeah, it's just us trying to learn and trying to make something that we believe in. And we work super hard. And by the end, we all had something that we all felt really passionate about, which is great. And there's, of course, some fun. Julian probably wouldn't want me to talk too much about this, so I won't. There's actually a picture I'll draw your attention to in the bottom left of the 2018 class, the class before us. They obviously, I don't know, I can't speak to their experience, but they, I am sure, had as great of a time as we did. It was truly incredible program, and if you have the chance to, there's also a quote in the bottom right. You can pause the video and take a minute to read that from a fellow classmate, Casey, and the sentiment is true. It's an extraordinary experience, and you'll grow to really appreciate the people you're with and the people in Bangalore. Yeah, I cannot recommend this program highly enough. There's just a few more pictures of us messing around as students, having a great time. This is the last video for the organization, Well Connected. I'd encourage you to check it out on the website. These videos, each group spent a long time on. We included these two in the original presentation, but the other two are just as good and thoughtful. In fact, I'll plug a improved video, not the original one, but our Selco organization had one that is up for a prize in a video contest right now, so you can check out the origins of that video currently on the GCIL website. Then we can speak to accommodations briefly. I think that you're staying at a place that is pretty close to just a dorm room in the U.S. There's a bathroom, there is a wall that's shared to the other bathroom, so there's a lot of, you'll have one bathroom buddy, basically, who will know you better than anyone else in your entire life has, but that's okay. My bathroom buddy was great. I'm sure yours will be too. There are 2 beds in the room, and it's a great private place that you can escape to, and everyone else is just like driving you crazy, which will happen, I'm sure. And yeah, there's food on campus of this facility. It's great. You'll get tired of it eventually, but it is very good food, and it's consistently there, and it feels free because you've already paid for it in some extent. So instead of going out and buying more food, you get this food at the establishment. ISI, sorry, I forgot the name. Indian Social Institute is the name of the place. It's a great accommodation. There's a green area. There's a rooftop which you can do yoga on, or just hang out and have have another break maybe if people are bothering you in your room. The food in India is spicy. In southern India, very rice-based. And you'll get to experience all of that. There's lunches in the beginning, and then you can go out once you have an idea for what you like. It's fairly cheap. It's like if you go to a reasonable place, you're paying like $2 USD for a meal. That varies though. That's like probably one of the cheaper end of things. Like $5 is for a more substantial meal, or more high-end meal. There's nothing that's too crazy there though. There are like Western cafes and stuff where you'll pay Western prices for food and that sort of thing. And then if you guys have any further questions, the website, which is pictured at the bottom of this slide, is a great resource for you guys, just to find out what GCIL is about and that sort of thing. And yeah, I hope you guys apply and decide to do this program because it is truly a great experience. There's some of the students from last year and faculty, and yeah. All right, guys, good luck.